What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Marvel Dice Throne. Now, this is published by the Op in conjunction with Roxley Games. The Op's got the license for Marvel. Roxley are the producers of Dice Throne, so they got together to make this game. It is designed by Manny Trembley, Nate Chatellier. I'm doing the French pronunciation because we're in Quebec. That's what we do here. And Gavan Brown. Sorry, Gavin. I know you came in last there, but I gotta get my pronunciation out there.
Pronunciation, yeah.
Yes. So we're gonna toss it over to Julie, who will tell you more about the game itself.
So first of all, we'd like to thank the Op for sending us this review copy.
Yes. I know they published it with Roxley, but we got the review copy through the Op.
So we thank you for the support of the channel. We appreciate it. We'd like to remind our viewers that our opinion will remain our own. So this is a competitive game. Another one, Jason.
Yes.
It is for 2 to 6 players for ages 8 and above, and it says 30-minute playtime on the box. Our assumption is that's per player.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes per player is about right. There is maybe the chance that you can get it down to 30 minutes, but I think you'd have to play a lot of
two players.
Yeah, at 2 players.
Yeah, definitely not. I don't think at the higher play counts.
No, I think that's going to be a little bit more complicated at the higher player counts. And just for your reference, we have only played this game at 2. We're ready to do battle again. I'm Scarlet Witch. You're Black Widow.
Jason is still hoping to get a victory against me.
Oh, it's going to come. It's going to come.
We'll see.
My last game, Loki versus Doctor Strange, just did not work out. Clearly, Doctor Strange is a better magician than Loki.
Was there ever a doubt?
So, just to talk to you about what you'll be doing in the game. Well, first and foremost, you've got, a nice storage tray where all your components are stored. So you're just going to pop them out, set it up. It's very quick and easy to get to the table. And after that, you're going to be taking your dice. You're going to be rolling them, trying to trigger different abilities. You also have a stack of cards that can be played using combat points. Some are free, some are not. And you'll be either playing them as upgrades on your board. The other thing you'll be doing is maybe playing them to steal some of the different tokens from your players. Sorry, the other players applying tokens to the other players. Or you may even be using them to manipulate the dice, block damage, or heal damage. The goal is to deal 50 damage to the opposing player or players and be the last person standing. So you're either going to be playing this heads up or in a battle royale type scenario. Now, did I miss anything at all, Julie?
I think you got it covered.
Oh, one thing to mention, all the characters play differently, so keep that in mind. This is an absolutely asymmetric game. So on that note, we're now going to grab our drink, grab our best friend. I'm going to take it to the table one more time.
For the 2 vixens, I guess.
It's the Battle of the Redheads. Now we're going to take a look at all the components for Marvel Dice Throne. Now this includes the two-player boxes, which have Black Widow versus Doctor Strange and Black Panther versus Captain Marvel, as well as the big box that has 4 characters in it. Now each of the boxes do come with a rule book. You got Rules of Play version 1.0. Which does everything that you need to play Marvel Dice Throne. Now, I do like the rule book. All the information is here. I would have liked an index. There is some quick referencing stuff. However, there is like 1 or 2 things that we actually have to look up, such as what happens if players knock each other out, and that wasn't all that easy to find. You can see that on the live stream when I was playing with Ryan from Mr. Rouse Gaming, but overall, a solid rule book. Now, I am not going to be opening up each of these boxes and showing you what's inside because essentially the contents for all of them are identical. The only difference is going to be the character-specific stuff, which we're going to go over, but I'll show you each of the boxes. So I'm just going to take away the top row here. So as you can see, we got Scarlet Witch, Loki, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, of course, Thor. We've got Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, and then Doctor Strange. Now, I think Loki is going to come across just maybe a little bit better because of the contrast in his colors. You can see what you get. You've got the player board, which has got all of your abilities, your ultimate, and folds up quite nicely. There's really nothing on the back, but some cool art to, showcasing Asgard. We'll put Loki here. You've got just all of his different skills that you're going to be able to trigger throughout the course of the game. Here you've got just some rule clarifications and strategy, complexity rating, and the credits as to who designed Loki. You get a combat point dial. You can see the health dial right here. Now you do get a standee. This standee is to be used in Dice Throne Adventures. You get custom dice, and you can see what the symbols are on each die right here. So you've got the mischief, you've got illusion, you've got the lies, and then the scepter. All the dice are identical. And then here you've got the tokens. We're not going to showcase all of them here. That just match the different conditions that you're going to be afflicting. Spellbound, Bag of Tricks, and Illusion. Actually, might as well. There's only 3 of them. I'll take it out. You can see the Illusion. And then lastly, we'll just showcase what you get in terms of cards. So you do get a card that explains timing, the turn order cards, and then your own deck of cards, some which are character specific. So these are Loki's Illusion cards. As you can see, they're different. Other than that, you've got a deck of cards which has upgrades for your skills, some cards that are similar in every deck, such as Transference and Tippet, and then you've got some other cards like Pantaloons on Fire, which are specifically related to Loki. So there you have it. You get an idea as to what comes in each box for Dice Throne, well, Marvel Dice Throne. Now, keep it right here, as I'm going to be coming back at you with a quick gameplay overview. I'll use a different character than Loki, but I want to give you an idea just how you're going to be playing the game, now that you've seen what you get in all the different boxes. Keep it right here. I'll be back in a flash. Now we're going to go through a gameplay overview of Marvel Dice Throne. So this will just show you how you set up the game. You're going to start with 2 combat points, 50 health. We've got the turn order card here, and you've got the timing explanation on the back, which we will review a little bit in this gameplay overview. We've got our board here with the different tokens that we can use. Now you notice that there's a stack limit. That's the amount of these tokens that can be placed on a character. There are some things that may come out in the game that will modify your stack. You've got your deck of cards here. You have your 5 dice. And then you're going to have your starting hand of 4 cards. Now, I made sure that I have 4 cards that have different timing, and the reason for that is I want to explain what the timing is. And for the case of this gameplay overview, we're going to imagine that we are not the first player, because this is something that the first player would skip. But you will do your upkeep phase first, meaning any tokens that need to be resolved during the upkeep phase that are placed on your character board. So if I had like a status like combo, it could be placed on my board. A good example of something that's got upkeep is the Time Bomb by Black Widow. If I had that, I'd have to do something for that phase. In this case, I don't, so I skip right into the income phase, which means I gain a single combat point and I draw a card and then add it to my hand. Next, I may play any card that is part of the main phase. So in this case, I've got Transference. So I could play this card. I don't have to spend the combat points. As you can see here, it's marked 2 combat points. It's blue for main phase. I don't have to spend those. And then it would let me transfer 1 status effect token from a player to another chosen player. So I could take somebody else's good status effect or get rid of a bad status effect. As you can see with where I'm at in the game, that really doesn't make that much sense. I'm much better off doing an upgrade, which I do have here, which also needs to be played during the main phase. You can tell because it's got the blue M symbol there. It costs 2 combat points, and it now upgrades my punch to this new ability. And at this point, there's not much else that I can do. So I will be going into my roll phase. So there's the offensive roll phase with the targeting roll phase, which you're going to skip. But essentially what the targeting phase means is that if you're playing a battle royale type game, you're going to make your roll, trigger your ability, and then randomly decide who you target. The reason for that is to keep the game flowing so that everyone isn't just, ganging up on one player and trying to knock them out. So we go through our roll phase. Now you notice that each of these has numbers on them, which is very important because you see I have a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, meaning that I will be able to trigger the small straight. Now, I can reroll any dice that I want. In this case, because I've rolled a small straight, I'm going to want to try to trigger that. So I roll my dice. Now, as you can see, I did get this. So meaning I do have another option. I could try to trigger the punch and deal 5 damage. Now there are some differences. White damage is defendable, red damage is undefendable, meaning you can't trigger these defensive abilities. But the small straight is still better. It's 5 damage and I get to inflict web. Now I don't have 4 of a kind, so I don't gain combo, which is a disappointment. And you can re-roll your dice up to 3 times. So I'm going to try to roll again because there's quite a few different things that I can do. And lo and behold, I get a 4. So I've got 2 options here. I may trigger the small straight, which deal 5 damage, and then I will inflict the web status effect. Or I can trigger wall crawler, which would be 7 damage and I gain invisibility. And I think that's actually the better one. Now, this is white damage, meaning it's defendable damage, so the opponent would get a chance to trigger a defense roll and then resolve whatever it is on their board. We're going to skip over that for now because I'm going to show you an example afterwards. Now, the opponent doesn't have to necessarily accept this roll. If they have something like a roll face card, this orange card, so you can select a dice and, like, for example, this one would be select one of your opponent's dice and force them to re-roll it. So if the opponent played this on me, they could be like, you know what? You're going to have to re-roll that 4. And what do you know? It actually came out fairly well. Now, there are red cards that are instants that you could also use as well. So you can increase or decrease the value of any die by 1 that costs you 1 combat point. That's another thing that you'd be able to do. So in this case, we would then deal 7 damage and gain invisibility. We now go into our second main phase, meaning any other type of main phase stuff that we want to do, we could potentially do. So we didn't do transference. Let's say there was something we decided that after a roll we want to get it, we could then, swipe that token. And that would then end our turn and would go to another player's turn. Now, to give you an example of what a defense roll would be, you have to decide what you're going to do. So I could decide to trigger the counter punch here, which would let me roll 3 dice. And then I deal 1 undefendable damage. So with this roll, I would deal 1 undefendable damage to the villain. Well, not the villain, the person attacking me. I could also try Spider Sense, which would mean I'd only roll 2 dice. If I get the spider, which I did, you take half damage, and then I might discard invisibility to take another roll. So meaning, for example, let's say they were dealing a large amount of damage. I block half of it. I could try rolling this again, and I'm not that lucky, but let's say I'd rolled another 6. I would block half of that damage. So that would mean all the damage is blocked. And that's how defense will work in the game. So there you have it. It's just a nice quick overview as to what you're going to be doing. As you can see, you can be rolling dice, trying to get your best rolls, and then dealing damage to other players. You just have the targeting phase if you're playing a game with 3 or more players. If it's heads up, which the game is, largely focused on, I feel, especially when you get like the 2v2 box, and the game does recommend playing it heads up before you try the larger games. You don't have to worry about that targeting phase. You can skip it. Now, if you happen to have more than 6 cards in your hand, then you have to discard down to 6 cards. And there you have it. We've gone over the gameplay for Marvel Dice Throne. Keep it right here, as Julie and I will be coming back at you with a review of the game. So, Julie, what do you think of Marvel Dice Throne? Now, we talked a little bit about the game in the intro and why we didn't have this in our collection until we got this opportunity. And I'm really curious. Is it something that's sticking around? Did you like it?
Well, first of all, when you told me we had another competitive game coming, I was like, really? And then you said Marvel. I'm like, yeah, maybe. And then dice throwing. I'm like, yeah, it could be interesting. Then we listened to a couple of
reviews, how to play,
or not how to plays, or reviews, I guess.
Well, I did watch a play, how to play tutorial video, which is very good, and why we didn't actually do one. So just a gameplay overview.
Why redo what Rodney's done?
Exactly.
But on another note, we did see, and I don't even need to go who it was, but I had heard it described as Battle Yahtzee, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this game, but I tried to keep an open mind because, well, yes, it's a review copy, and we always keep an open mind. That being said, I didn't really feel like this was truly battle Yahtzee. It's more than that, I would say.
It is. I think that the Yahtzee element is there where you're trying to push your luck, you're rolling dice. So as a very basic explanation as to what the game is.
As in, you can do a small or a large straight. Yes, in that sense. Or, 4 of the kind can do something, 5 of a kind. But beyond that description, it's not really battle Yahtzee. There's more to it. And I love the fact that there's different complexities. And sometimes I shy away from the more complex characters because
you just want to turn your brain off and have some fun.
Well, the thing is, as I've said a couple of times, I use my brain a lot for work. And when I'm going to play a game, I want it to be entertaining. I don't want to be challenging, the neuroreceptors in my brain trying to figure things out. That being said,
I would also point out, just before we go into too much more detail, the hero complexity, I think you can kind of throw that out the window. There is some complexity, but I don't think it's as difficult as make it out to be.
It's not as difficult. No, that's what I was going to say. It's not that difficult. I would say I started with Thor, who's supposed to be a little bit more complex. He's a 3, I think.
Yeah, middle of the road.
And then I played Doctor Strange, which I think is the highest complexity they have so far.
One off so far. In terms of Marvel, now there are 2 other seasons of Dice Throne. Dice Throne. One of the reasons why you don't see Dice Throne Adventures here is, we like to get everything. There's a lot of it, so we kind of just want to keep it in a smaller set.
So, and then I also played Scarlet Witch, which is a 4, 1 less than Doctor Strange is a 5.
No, you mean Black Widow, because I got Scarlet Witch right here.
Oh, sorry. Girl with red hair. Oops, I should know better.
Yes, you should.
But she's still a 4.
Yes.
So all that to say, I think the more complex character, Doctor Strange, was my most fun to play. You definitely have to know you have to remember what their powers are and use their abilities wisely, because it's not just a question of what dice you throw. It's a question of thinking about what else you can combine to really make it work.
And don't forget about straights, like I did in the first game and got my butt kicked.
You got your behind kicked several times, I might point out. You only won the last game.
Yes, but the first game was very even, and a couple of times I re-rolled very good rolls, which might have swung the game in my favor. Not saying that I could have won,
the first
but
game
I definitely
wasn't that close. Sorry.
Yes, but I re-rolled a full large straight one time because I didn't count the numbers, and that was stupid. And then I got nothing. And getting nothing in this game is very, very bad because it can put you behind. So I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome. I just should have done a lot better than I actually did, and I shot myself in the foot.
Yeah. So yes, the dice have to be in your favor. If they're not, as Jason pointed out a few times yesterday, when I played it, I didn't roll so well. So when the dice are in your favor, even though today they might have been a little bit more, they weren't necessarily good enough for me this time, because you probably had your best rolling of all the games that we've played. So this is not a game for Will Wheaton.
No, if you suck at dice rolls, if the forces of probability just have it in for you, you might want to avoid dice, though. Just saying. I think, unless you still have a good time, but if you're rolling a lot of bad stuff...
I think the difference is if you get frustrated by dice games and where the dice really have a large part of the game, then this is not the game for you.
Well, the cards also have a big aspect of the game as well, because they're your upgrades. They can let you manipulate the dice. They can let you defend damage. They can let you heal. So if you don't get all the cards that you want, it can really go badly.
Yeah, and that's honestly what hurt me this time, is I wasn't rolling that badly. I just really didn't get any of the upgrade cards that worked for me. I needed to have a little bit of defense, and I just wasn't getting any, and you kept just whacking at me enough that it just knocked me down. So what I was going to say here is that although this is a competitive game, it's not the type of competitive game that drives me mad, in the sense that you can remove things from people, and yes, I had a really big play that you kind of just completely knocked the wind out of my sails by changing one of my dice rolls. There was nothing I could do to modify it or prevent it. So,
It happened to me on stream when I was playing against Ryan as Black Panther. I pulled off Wakanda Forever, and he's like, I'm going to change your dice. And I'm like, that's super annoying.
Yeah. But the difference being, you are limited by the cards in your hand. And, so I did a couple to you, and I didn't feel quite as bad because those are the cards you've been dealt. That's what you have in your hand. So
you got to play it.
You got to play it. And the other thing is, though this game, as we said 30 minutes, we assume they meant 30 minutes per player. It's not, we didn't take...
I think you can get it down to 30 minutes though.
Okay. If you're trying to play this in 30 minutes, you got to be really, really, really fast, as in not really thinking and just kind of playing.
I don't know. I think once you're familiar enough with it, you can, but you'd have to play a lot of dice thrown.
I think that's probably an outlier. I think that honestly, more likely, it's going to be closer to the 30 minutes per player, maybe 20 minutes. But if you...
We did 45 in our last game.
Yeah, but we also play relatively quickly. A lot of people could take a lot longer trying to figure out, looking at their 5 or 6 cards in their hands, trying to figure out if there's a way out of whatever trouble they've fallen into. So, that being said, competitive, but still fun to the cooperative lover that I am. And I like the fact that there's varying abilities. I really enjoyed the different aspects of it. It felt very thematic. There are some cards that are repetitive amongst the different players, but there are a lot of,
asymmetric cards.
Yeah, very specific to the character. I would... With Black Widow, I had agility, which didn't end up helping me at all because you kept stealing my agility. So I can't complain though, because as Doctor Strange, I did the same thing to you. I kept stealing every time Loki came up with something. I'd be like, "Yeah, send it over here," or "Nope,
get rid of it." Yeah, that was really obnoxious actually. And that game, when I played as Loki, I made one mistake, and that definitely put me behind. And that was when I really pushed my luck. And don't push your luck against Doctor Strange because it's not typically going to go well. Playing as Scarlet Witch, I definitely had a lot more fun. I got some nice upgrades out, and I was able to constantly keep the pressure on you, which I really liked. And using that crackle ability to up my damage, I thought was very good as well. In terms of the characters that we've played pretty much all of them here collectively, not each of us. And the only one that we haven't played is Captain Marvel. So I played both of the more simple characters, and I can definitely say that I do agree with Julie's assessment. I do feel that some of the more complex characters feel more powerful. That being said, I will say that some of the simpler characters, like Black Panther, are deceptive in terms of their abilities. If you decide to check out the live stream, that's now out on the YouTube channel. I'll link it down below as well, which is Ryan and I playing it. I played as Black Panther, and he was playing as Scarlet Witch, and I really thought he was going to secure the win. And at the end, I probably could have won the game, and it ended up being a draw just because of my ability, the fact that I kept rolling defense and I kept constantly damaging him, which is something that not all the characters are able to do, but Black Panther is able to do it very well. So even if you are taking, 9 damage, you might hit for 4 and trigger your ability to get some good stuff going, and then you hit the villain back for 4, not villain, your opponent back for another 4 when they attack you, which is just pretty cool, and I like how that mechanic works. So keep that in mind when it comes to the defensive abilities and the characters that you're playing. Complexity definitely isn't everything. And you really do want to make sure that you try to get a good roll every single time. And the more that you push your luck, it can go in your favor. But I would say in a very much a heads-up environment, a heads-up game, where you're not playing with multiple characters and people have to roll for targeting, it can definitely put you behind. And the rulebook does suggest that you play the game quite a few times heads up before you expand it out to the maximum player count, which is 6 players. The more players you have, the more difficult it is going to be. At that point, I'd almost suggest even making some simultaneous plays just to keep the game going, where you'd roll the targeting die, and then after the character going after you, roll the targeting die, so that if you're each targeting different characters, well, then you can go ahead and make your play. But you'll have to figure that out when you get to that point. We've really only played the game in a heads-up environment. I love this thematic aspect of the game, and one thing we didn't talk about is the components. This feels like a premium product. I love the boards. I love the feel of the cardboard components. The cards themselves are nice and thick. Now, we haven't sleeved them. I may end up sleeving them if this is the kind of thing that comes to the table.
I found the combat point dial really difficult to turn. It's starting to get a little bit, but I feel like it's easy to damage as you're trying to turn it. The health is a lot easier to to manipulate. It just spins a lot better. But
I do like all
you didn't talk about the storage because you wouldn't quit about how impressed you were about the storage.
Well, I love the storage. I mean, we have it here. Everything goes in these nice trays. Now, if you have the Kickstarter edition, they're even colored, and you get fancy stuff. You get fancy card sleeves, which I would love to have. However, they cost more than the game itself right now, so I don't think we're going to be doing that. And we talk about the positives of games, and those sleeves are beautiful. I get why they're expensive, but I really wish they'd be a little bit less expensive because they're customized for each of the characters. That's why you've got 2 spaces for cards in the box, so it's designed to fit sleeve cards. And then they fit in the box. Now, the one problem with the beautiful storage is condensing the game really is impossible. This box fits 4, this box fits 2, this box fits 2. And it's a reason why, after playing Marvel Dice Throne, I can safely say we will get more Marvel Dice Throne. I don't know if we would dive in on the rest of the Dice Throne seasons because I could see it filling up entire Calyx boxes behind us. Now, there is Dice Throne Adventures.
No more room for more Calyx. No more room for more Calyx.
I know, that's why there are games going out the door on a regular basis as we try to, keep things, a manageable size for our collection and stuff that just doesn't get played.
But you asked me if we're going to keep this game. There's some that I kind of give you a non-committal answer. I did enjoy this, and I look forward to trying it playing it again at more player count.
No, so you can see exactly where the review's going, but yes, premium product. Love Dice Throne. Interested in Dice Throne Adventures now because that is cooperative. It is more of a fantasy setting, and you can bring these characters into it. But I think I'm going to wait and see if they do a Marvel Dice Throne Adventures because at that point I think we will definitely get that. I get frustrated more than Julie does by bad die rolls. I definitely prefer
because it
more.
happens to you more than me.
Well, I push my luck more than you do, typically. So I do kind of go for the big swings, and in this game, without having the right cards, you can kind of fall flat. And this time, I only swung big once, and even then it wasn't that big of a swing, but I completely got nothing, so that was definitely a little disappointing. But I like the game. I like what we're doing here. I like the fact that this is the kind of thing that we could definitely play with our little guy, even though it says 14 plus. He might just need
It's 8 plus.
Oh, 8 plus? Perfect. I thought it said 14 plus must be another game that I was... Oh, yes, it's the other Marvel game, Marvel United, which has 14 plus, which I think is also like 6 8 plus. Not sure why it says that. In any case, off topic. But they would just he just need a little help with the strategy. But, a kid that's 3, 4, 5... that likes rolling dice and will just point at an ability and can figure out the dice mechanics, can play the game.
Yeah, I don't think at 3. I think you're being very basic there, but...
They can roll the dice and do some stuff. You'll have to finagle it. You're not really going to get a good experience, but I'm saying they can roll the dice, see the numbers, and trigger an ability. You might want to just slim some stuff down. I'm just saying it's something you can play with them. Our little guy loves to roll dice. That's why I mentioned it's one of those things where he could sit there, roll dice, and count the numbers, and potentially do something. That being said, it's not going to be the full experience, but definitely like a 5, 6, 7-year-old can probably start playing the game depending on what their experience is with games in the household. But they will need their parents to help them out, especially when it comes to the cards. But I think we've talked enough about the game. We did a lot of banter back and forth. It's safe to say that we both really enjoy the game. I mean, like the turn order here makes everything very simple. The timing on the back is great. And you can get into this game with either the big core box or just the heads-up boxes. So it's a very easy game to get started with. Now, there is a ton of Dice Throne content. You'll have to decide for yourself if you really want to go down the rabbit hole and get all of it. If you prefer a fantasy setting or if you prefer some other settings. I mean, there's like gunslingers and some other cool stuff like that you can have in like one-on-one battles. I recommend definitely checking it out. Or if you're a Marvel fan like us, you can keep your set a little bit smaller. Because of everything we have.
This is my favorite box.
Yes, because of everything we have, we're definitely keeping our set a little bit on the smaller side. But who knows? We may end up expanding it out if some stuff leaves the shelves here. So now, Julie, what is your score for Marvel Dice Throne?
I think you might be a little surprised.
Really?
Yeah. This is a 7.5 for me.
Oh, I'm not that surprised. I figured you were going in that direction. When you said
it was
surprised,
close. You know what? It was close to being an 8. I was thinking about giving it an 8. The reason I didn't is it's still a dice throwing game. There's a lot left up to chance as well. maybe push comes to shove, I might have switched it up to an 8. So I'd call it a 7.75. There you go. Almost made it to an 8. There's just a couple things to me that don't make it, that doesn't make it fall. I have to compare to what I've given other games as well in the past, and I definitely wouldn't say this is my top favorite game of all time. So I have to be careful on that scoring on that side.
Well, I'm going to agree with you, Julie. I'm going to give it a 7.5, and the components and other aspects of the game definitely got it close to that 8 mark. I'll have to say the reason why I really give it the 7.5 is because I felt fairly frustrated playing Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Just wasn't getting the cards to draw up some cards. I was really just going off my dice throws. I did miss a few things that could have helped me out. That being said, I don't think it would have resolved the problem of me basically drawing a card. Can I play it? No. Roll the dice, try to trigger an ability, and I found that can definitely happen to you, and it can be a little dull. And the fact that you're having the 2 sets of random aspects, the dice and what comes out of the card deck, I do think is something that will definitely turn off some people. Now, it can make the game go really fast if you're just getting bupkis, because one player is going to win, and that can be fun or not fun, depending on how you feel about those situations. I do think this is a solid game. I think that it's very easy to play, easy to teach, and if you're a fan of Marvel and you want to get this type of game in your collection, if you want to take it, these characters on a dice zone adventure in a fantasy world, you can do that as well. So I think there's a lot of value here, and you're going to have fun with it.
So on that note, it's time to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
And take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see some pictures of Julie and I playing Marvel Dice Zone, there are plenty on those feeds. Also down there's a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. So if you're looking to pick up Marvel Dice Zone Adventures, any of the other seasons of Dice Zone, make sure you check them out. Click the link, you'll get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support the channel as a portion of that purchase is returned to us. And then popping up in front of us are going to be links to some of our previously released videos. In front of me will be our most recent release. In front of Julie, it's going to take you back to another one of the Marvel games we've reviewed. Which one? Marvel United? Thanos Rising?
Thanos Rising, we haven't talked about that
one.
Okay,
so we'll take you back to Thanos Rising, another dice chucking game, so actually perfectly on brand or on theme more. And now we're going to grab our drink, grab our best friend.
We're going to keep playing games. I think this one will get back to the table.
Oh yeah, we're never going to keep playing this one. I'm hoping for the cooperative Marvel Dice Zone Adventures. Hopefully you'll bring it to us, Roxley and the Op.